Ocean monuments. Slumbering giants hidden beneath the waves, teeming with strange creatures and ancient magic. And the object of today's quest. Join me and my foxy friend Millie as we set out to transform this giant ocean monument into an aquatic oasis. Alright, another day, another ridiculous project that I've given myself to complete. For this one, we're gonna have to do a little bit of a speed run to get our tools and our armor, because we have got a lot of stuff to do right off the bat. So let's just grab our wood so that we can get our tools, then we'll get some food, then we'll get a bed, and we're gonna need a backpack because we have to go way out into the ocean to find a monument. And once I've got some food, I'm planning to get some iron tools as quick as possible, so I'm gonna grab all of this coal that's just laying around on this little mound of stone right here. Okay, we're looking all good on the coal front. Let's just grab some wool so that we can make a bed and also some food. So let's make ourselves that bed. Perfect. Let's put our furnace down and put our food on to cook. And in the meantime, let's just punch some grass because we're going to need some seeds to get some extra food because we've got, again, a huge task ahead of us. So I managed to get a couple seeds there, but I'm going to need a lot more. So let's make ourselves a bucket. That is not the craft for the bucket. There we go. So let's just grab some water real quick. And if you're wondering, this bucket is from the Meadow mod, which is super handy for day one kind of stuff like this, because obviously we can't get iron right now, or at least we just don't have iron right now. And now we have some water holes. We can till all of this land so that we can start planting some seeds. Now let's make ourselves a watering can and then we can get to planting. Whilst all of this is growing in, let's go grab our furnace and head underground for some iron and some string to make a backpack and upgrade our tools. Okay, actually first, let me just grab these cows so that I have some leather to also make the backpack. And now we have our iron and our string. We can make a iron pickaxe, and I'm not going to bother making the rest of the tools actually because I'm going to try and get diamond tools immediately. But now we have our iron pickaxe. Let's make ourselves a backpack. So we're going to need a chest for the middle, then we're going to need string on either side, and then the remaining gaps we're going for leather. Just like that, we have a backpack. Usually I would dye our backpack pink, but I'm not seeing any flowers nearby and I don't actually have a lot of time, so it's gonna have to be this one. Anyways, let's grab ourselves a bunch of wheat and then we should be good to head out for our first lot of materials after we get some diamond tools. I headed back underground to speedrun getting diamond tools and diamond armor, plus some extra. I also picked up some obsidian, iron, coal, moss, and gravel. While I was mining, I stumbled across an ancient city which has some enchantment books that I promptly added to my tools and armor. Above ground, I looted a village for books and enchanted them for my shovel, and stocked up on milk buckets. I then located a shipwreck, followed the treasure map, and snagged a heart of the sea, followed by some nautilus shells. With that all done, I resigned myself to my fate of gathering more sand than I ever wanted to see in my whole entire life. So this platform is going to be our base for the next million days, and I've gone ahead and put a bunch of sand onto smelt so that we have some glass ready for later, but this is definitely going to be a recurring process because we need a lot of glass. Now before we dive into anything serious, I do need to get a conduit set up over at the monument, and I am going to have to try and avoid all of the guardians in the process to try and get this thing set up. So wish me luck. I think as long as I don't get seen by the guardians, I should be fine. And also I need to get to the floor as quickly as possible so that I can actually place an oak door so I can breathe. Oh gosh, there's so many of them. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's just do this as quickly as possible. So I think we can get away with just placing our TNT right here and our conduit on top. Oh my goodness. And then if we break the TNT, this should give us breath, and it does. Okay, perfect. We do have mining fatigue though, so that is not ideal. So I've had some milk, so I no longer have mining fatigue, but now it's time for the scary part. We have to get back in here and get rid of those Elder Guardians. Now, the first thing we're going to do is break in through the top because that's usually where the first Elder Guardian is. And I'm hoping that it can't see me from up here, but we can just sort of, okay, maybe not, but I was hoping we'd be able to just hit from here. Oh, okay, well, we already have mining fatigue. That's fine. We do have a lot of buckets of milk, but I I think we're actually gonna have to sort of swim down and then like hit, ouch, and then like retreat and just keep healing as much as we can. In hindsight, I probably should have gotten a bow, but it's absolutely fine. I'm sure we'll be able to do this way if we just take our time and don't panic too much. It would be nice if the smaller guardians couldn't see me, but it's fine. I think... Oh, okay, wait, that was actually super duper easy. What the heck? Okay, now we just have to figure out how to do that 2 more times. This one was kind of easier because we are just in the top of the monument, but now I have to actually locate the other ones, which may be a little bit harder. Oh, don't mind them. So the next guardian should be under here, but I am being absolutely ravaged right now by other guardians. So let me just build up a little safety hut right here, and hopefully we can do the same thing that we already did. Now let's get some milk in our system, and let's mine a little hole down here, and hopefully there's an elder guardian. Oh, okay, yeah, I think I just saw the tail of it. So let's just get down here. Oh my gosh. It's kind of a little bit further away than I was hoping, but we can just keep retreating up here and we should be absolutely fine. It is just going to take a little while though, because the guardian is further away from our hole, like I said, than I expected. Ouch, I feel like we just need to sort of... Oh, okay, no, this is a problem. I'm stuck. Let me out of here, please. So I've just created a slightly lower down hiding platform. I don't really know what to call it. And unfortunately, the guardian has moved again. But I think we're just gonna have to brave it, honestly. Oh wait, that's the second one done. Get me back to safety quickly. Okay, no, they can still see me there. Let me get back up to my other little hole. Whew, okay, we should be good for a second. Now for our third and final Elder Guardian. I am never going to get used to this, but this is our final one, so I don't have to worry about getting used to it, because once this one is done, I don't have to worry anymore, but I will still have to worry about the little guys. But that's still less hassle than worrying about this guy. Please, just die! Ah, ow, 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 ow. Not me, not me. Okay, good. There should be only a couple hits left on this thing. Ouch. Ow, 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 ow. Retreat, retreat. Okay, now there should only be a final hit left. Oh, perfect. Okay, and now let's just hide from these guys. Let's get a little bit of bread in our system. And now our monument is officially clear. With that done, I'm going to spend some time clearing out these sponge rooms because I can no longer get mining fatigue. Thank goodness. I do really wish that the smaller guardians would stop spawning as soon as the elder guardians were gone, because that would make my life a lot easier for when I need to drain this thing. But unfortunately, that is not the case. So now that the area is at least a little bit safer, I want to go ahead and outline this whole monument with a big glass ring, partly to give us a clean frame to work inside of, and also to make it way easier when the time comes to drain the monument later on. It's actually been a while since I last tackled a giant circle build in Minecraft. Like, if you've been around the channel since the early days, you might remember that I used to have a little bit of a circle obsession back in my first hardcore world. Spheres, domes, circles, you name it. If it was round, I was building it. And it honestly used to drive me crazy trying to get them perfect, but after enough trial and error, I kind of got really good at them. So fingers crossed I still have that skill in me and can knock this one out without having to go back in and rework anything. Now with half the outline done, I'm just going to build up real quick and make sure that I've not made any mistakes before I do the second half, because if I have made a mistake and then do the second half, obviously it's going to be an absolute headache to fix. But to be honest, it's looking okay, I think. It would probably be better to just build up from the middle, but I think I'm going to trust my judgment here and say that that is all even. So let's get ourselves back down to water level and continue this circle. Turns out I do in fact still have the talent for Minecraft circles, which is wonderful news for me. What isn't wonderful news for me though is the fact that I now have to fill in all of this circle from the top to the bottom of the ocean. And I've got a sneaky feeling that we're actually going to run out of glass trying to do this, but let's just get what we can done and see where we end up. I will say though, filling in all of this glass honestly isn't the worst task I've ever had to do. Like, it's definitely going to be time consuming, don't get me wrong, but it's also kind of relaxing once you get into a rhythm. Kind of like farming or digging, I guess. That being said, the Guardians are definitely going to be an absolute menace whilst I'm trying to get this part done. So while I'm super excited about transforming this monument into something gorgeous, I think I'm just as excited to finally drain the whole thing purely for the satisfaction of never having to see a Guardian ever again. Or at least for this video. I was really trying to be optimistic when I said that this would be one of those oddly satisfying, peaceful tasks, but nope, just constant interruptions from laserfish. Still, I powered through and got as much of the glass placed as I could before, of course, inevitably running out. So we have officially run out of glass, and honestly, we didn't really get too far. We almost got a quarter of the way, which is, I guess, some progress, but not exactly as far as I wanted to get at this point. So on that note, let's wait for the sun to go down, head to bed, and then head out for some more materials in the morning. I started underground grabbing diamonds so that I could keep my tools repaired, as well as some iron and coal. And then I was back on my sand grind. Seriously guys, I understand Anakin Skywalker now. I too am a sand hater. Once that was sorted, I looted a village for some hay bales for bread. Alright, I am back with even more glass and just an absolutely ridiculous amount of extra sand. But we're finally ready to finish up our big old glass ring and then get started on draining the monument. And honestly, I wish it was realistic to just completely transform this place without having to drain half of the ocean. But alas, here we are preparing to do exactly that. Okay, maybe saying half an ocean is a tiny bit dramatic, but honestly, can you blame me? And I know we don't even have a sliver of land in our field of view right now, and in the grand scheme of Minecraft Oceans, this might technically be a small section, but it still is a very large area to try and remove water from. Like, honestly, comically large. Ridiculously large even. Like, large enough that I'm already questioning all of my life decisions that led to this moment. But hey, we're committed now, so we can't complain too much. This was my decision. So let's just get this ring completed and let the draining commence. All right, we are on to our final stretch here, filling in our last bit of glass. And this may have taken me forever, but it does look pretty amazing, or at least I think it does. It's kind of hard to see right now, but it's gonna basically look like a giant round aquarium once we have this thing drained. So now that everything is finally in place, it's time to set up our trusty sand barriers so that we can get to draining those smaller sections. And yes, we're gonna be using the sponges that we so bravely borrowed from the monument itself. And I'm hoping this part won't turn into too much of a headache, but of course the Guardians are still hanging around, so I imagine it might. And you know, fun fact, or maybe not so fun, I have done a big circle ocean drain like this before, but it was way back before I had any crazy knowledge of big builds like this, so I didn't really know a single shortcut. I straight up filled every inch of the circle with sand and then broke it all by hand. Or with a shovel, I should say. But then I remembered that you can just place a torch underneath a sand column to make the whole thing collapse instantly. And yeah, that was pretty painful. But it's safe to say that we've evolved since then and we are not going to be making that same mistake this time. I feel like I've been out here for literally ever at this point, and I'm only on my 4th row of sand. This is gonna take me a while. All right, we are on our, I don't even know what number now, but we are on our last row of sand for this half. That's right, I'm only halfway done right now. Okay, I think we can probably say this is about 3/4 of the way done. Oh my goodness. So close, but still so far. And we are on to our final couple towers of sand, and that should be about it. Although, I think I am going to have to put another row right here, but I'm still calling this a success after I finish this tower here. Actually, I think I can probably get away with leaving it. So let's head back over to our little base over here and grab our sponges. All right, sponges acquired. Let's get to draining. I honestly have no idea what the most optimal spacing is. I believe it's 4. Oh, and also I moved some furnaces over here so that we don't have to travel all the way over here every single time. I'm wondering if actually it would be better to place the sponges like on a lower level here, because it will still get rid of ones above it, right? I can't wait for these guys to stop spawning. Okay, yeah, I think just placing it on the 2nd level is probably the best option here. I do have a feeling that I am doing this slightly wrong. Okay, I feel like I have a pretty good system going now. So I'm going 5 blocks across like this. 2, 3, 4, 5. Where did that sponge just go? Oh, above me. Brilliant. Oh, and the sun is going down and I'm being attacked right now. So let's go get ourselves safely to bed, or at least try to. Goodness, where is my bed? Over here. And then we'll carry on with this in the morning. I do still feel like I'm doing this a little bit wrong somewhere, but I'm going to carry on doing it this way and just hope that eventually this whole thing is drained. Like, this feels kind of right, but it hasn't completely cleared this side of all of the water, so I feel like there is definitely a mistake I'm making here, which is unfortunate because I did say I wasn't gonna make any rookie mistakes this time, but things happen. I could, well, actually no, I was gonna say I could Google this. In fact, I did Google this, but I didn't quite understand what it was trying to tell me to do, so this is where we've landed. And it's kind of working, so I think we're okay here. So I have officially run out of sponges for this part of the draining, and now I have to break them all. In hindsight, I probably should have just done the top row and then broken all of the sponges and then did the next row, because it's going to be a little bit difficult to get some of these because the water is kind of messed up down here, but I guess we're just going to have to deal with what we've got to work with here. Once I'd collected all of the sponges and dried them out, I jumped straight back into draining duty. Row by row, section by section, and honestly, I still don't know if there's some magical optimal sponge placement method that makes the whole thing super efficient and easy, because I sure didn't find it. So instead, I just powered through the chaos of spamming sponges, drying them out, placing them again, and slowly watching the water levels go down bit by bit. It was definitely a little bit of a drag, but with enough determination and more sponge drying than I cared to count, I finally managed to clear out all of the water. Once that was done, I had to break into the monument to make sure everything inside was water-free. Then, just like that, we were officially free from the headache that is the Guardians. And almost ready to begin the monument's transformation, because we still have a lot of sand to clear. So now we just need to use our torches to get rid of all of this sand, and thank goodness I don't have to mine any of this, because with the sand for glass plus the sand for sectioning, I think it's safe to say I'm all sanded out. But yeah, since the torches do most of the work for me, this should be a pretty quick and easy task, and if it isn't, it will certainly feel like it in comparison to everything that we've been through so far. And as you can imagine, I spent a while running back and forth against the sand walls, breaking the bottom blocks of sand to quickly place a torch. Thankfully, this was a pretty easy, painless task, and without the Guardians lurking, I could complete the work in peace. I'm hearing water, which makes me think I have missed a section. Oh, okay, that's fine. We can go get our sponges and fix that. But first I am still going to get rid of all of this sand, because otherwise, I don't know. There's actually no reason for me to do this first, but I just want to get it done. Alright, finally, we have a completely drained area and we can see the monument in all of its glory. The ground around the monument is looking a little bit rough, so we're going to go ahead and fix that. And once that's done, we can bring Millie over here, which I'm super excited for because it feels like I haven't seen her in forever. So I'm just starting by terraforming all of this gravel, and then we can go in with some moss and whatnot and make it look a little bit more alive, I guess. Okay, now that we are terraformed a little bit, let's get down here and add our moss. So I'm just going to go and pretty much fill in a lot of these spaces with the moss. And then I'm going to use our watering can to bone meal the moss and get some cute little grass and azaleas growing in here. Oh wait, did that just turn the grass into... Oh no, it just added moss carpet. Never mind. Oh wait, no. Ah! Why did I not know it could do this? I spent so much time. Oh my gosh, I spent so much time getting moss and I didn't even need to. This is insane. Is that a whole moss block? It is. I am well and truly mind blown. The amount of times, not even just this video, but the amount of times I've gathered moss and I haven't needed to. I wonder, let me go get some more water for our watering can here. I wonder if, what do I wonder? My mind has gone blank. I'm so mind blown right now. I wonder if I can just bone meal like gravel? Okay, no, I can't just bone meal a block. I need at least one block of moss, but like, no wait, what? How does this work? Does it need to be like connected? Am I being pranked right now? What is going on down here for that to work so well? Ah! I'm in shock. I'm just in pure shock right now. I cannot believe this. This does make my life a little bit easier, I think, but also not, because I did mine out a bunch of these areas with the moss in mind. So I guess I'm gonna have to do a little bit of both, but to be honest, this shouldn't take me that long. So I am gonna go ahead and just get rid of a couple of these areas so that I can add in moss where it kind of looks obvious that there needs to be a little bit of area filled in. But this new watering can slash bone meal hack has literally changed my life, to say the least. What's funny is I've literally bone mealed moss so much in my time playing Minecraft, and I feel like I usually only really do it on like roofs and stuff, and I've probably just never noticed the blocks around it turning to moss, if that's even a thing. Is it only like stone and gravel materials? I'm literally okay. I'm scared to test it on this because I actually do need the prismarine, but I need to test it on a different block. Just gonna place down some of my leftover oak planks right here, then I'm gonna surround it with moss. This is truly gonna baffle me if this works. Then I'm gonna bone meal this. Okay, I think it's only stone and gravel, which is potentially why I've never seen this happen before, because I very rarely build with stone and gravel. So good to know though. Great to know, in fact. Still really cannot get my head around that that's a thing though. So after my apparently life-changing discovery that everyone that plays Minecraft probably already knew, I got to work filling in all of my terraformed gaps and bone mealing the moss to grow some azaleas, grass, and spread the moss a little. It's crazy to me that you can play this game for years and still discover little things like this that you've just never realized before, and I think that's a testament to how awesome Minecraft is, or at least how oblivious I am sometimes. But I think we'll give the credit to the game here. All right, finally we are looking a little bit more alive around here. And as lovely as the monument looks like this, we are here to repurpose it, so we're gonna have to demolish the whole thing because I need the prismarine. I spent the next several hours absolutely glued to my computer, just mining away at the monument block by block to clear the whole thing out and give us a fresh, clean slate to work on. Not only would this give us a ton of space to build something new and exciting, but it also meant we could salvage a bunch of prismarine to reuse later without having to clear an entire second monument. It took a few pickaxe repairs, but eventually, after what felt like an eternity of digging and multiple Spotify sing-alongs, the entire structure was cleared and all that lovely prismarine was safely packed away for later. Very satisfying, very exhausting. 10 out of 10 would mine again. Maybe. Probably not. Also, as a side note, I cannot believe this area ended up being part of a slime chunk of all things. Like, I just got rid of one nuisance of a mob and replaced it with another unintentionally, but just goes to show how unpredictable Minecraft can be and that not every build will go 100% to plan. Alright, we are looking pretty good aside from the slimes, apparently. But now it's time to head out for some more materials so that we can finally get started on this transformation. Or at least, you know, like the actual building part of it. We've been working on this transformation for quite some time now. I once again found myself mining for diamonds, coal, and iron. Once that was done, I looted a different ocean monument for some extra dark prismarine. I then worked on collecting azalea leaves, as well as oak wood and leaves. Some minor hay burglary later, and I was heading back to base. Now all of the hard grindy stuff is out of the way, we can finally start building our new and improved monument. The nice thing about my plan for this build is that it's going to be mostly symmetrical, which means even though it's going to be a gigantic structure, it won't take too much brain power to get the base in, since I can just repeat the patterns. And if there's one thing I love when building, it's a repeating pattern. It just satisfies my brain and makes life easier because it's kind of like learning a dance routine or like playing a song on guitar, but I'm actually just placing blocks in a sequence, which definitely sounds less cool than a dance or song, but hopefully you guys get what I mean and also enjoy a little pattern recognition and performing a pattern, I guess. But anyways, let's get this little base layer sorted, and then of course we can start building upwards. So that is our base outline done. Now I'm just going to run around the entire thing and just do a row of normal prismarine. And with that done, I'm just going to make little markers of 3 blocks wide, just like that, all the way across the edge, so I know where I'm going to put my prismarine bricks. Oh, I think no, never mind. I thought I'd made a mistake, but I hadn't. I'm just finishing off this section of prismarine by building up 1 block and then out 2 blocks inwards. And I'm just doing that on each of the posts that I made earlier. And with those all marked out, we have a very easy task now of filling in the spaces with our prismarine bricks. Did I just hear Millie? I just realized I completely forgot to bring her over. What on earth? Oh my gosh, she must have swam incredibly far to get here. Millie, what are you doing here? I mean, I'm not upset. I was meant to bring you here anyway, but I'm just confused at how you got here because we are pretty far out in the ocean. All right, well, I'm glad you're here now, but I've got to get back to placing these blocks because otherwise this monument is never going to get finished. So with that part done, it's time to get on to some details, and we're just adding in some markers here that we're going to build up some pillars from. And with those marked out, we can now run along this line here and add in a row of sandstone. In between each marker, we're going to do sandstone stairs, and then we're going to add some extra markers with these prismarine blocks. In the middle of each area that I did 3 prismarine blocks, I'm going to add in a normal block of prismarine. And now we can start building up our pillars. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to go all the way. No, we're not. Okay, I was going to go all the way across the top, but then I realized it was going to make my life a lot harder for when I wanted to build up each of these pillars. So what we're actually going to do is just build up like this and keep jumping down. So we should probably go get a bucket of water. Bucket of water acquired. Let's build up these posts. Ouch. So with all of my posts added on this side, I just need to add in some upside down prismarine brick stairs, and then we can fill in all of the gaps. So to fill in all of these gaps, I'm going to use some smooth sandstone, and I'm going to try and save as much material as I can by just filling in the gaps and not going all the way across, which would be a lot easier technically, but I don't have unlimited sand, unfortunately. So here's how we're looking so far with 3 of our sides done. This side actually doesn't look that great. Let me just show you the outside, and then I'll tell you what the plan is for the next part. So here is the side I probably should have showed you first, and yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Let's get to work on building our walls inwards. And if you have no idea what I mean, let me just hop all the way over here and I'll do a little demonstration. So similarly to how the original monument is structured, we're going to bring these parts here in like this on either side and then join them up in the middle. And if that still didn't make sense, I'm going to build it now anyway, so you'll see what I mean. So let's start by bringing this side out a little bit further, and then on this block here, oh wait, and on this block here, we're going to start bringing this out this way. Then we're going to use our sandstone here to build out 16 blocks. And now we can add in our prismarine bricks to mark out our pillars. Just like on all the other sides, we're going to build up our pillars 8 blocks. And use our water bucket to get safely down so that we don't waste too much food. Here's how we're looking with that side filled in. Now let's do the same on the other side. Perfect. I've gone ahead and added a little ridge to the top of our pillars here, and I've also punched out some holes to leave room for a little bit of detailing with this dark prismarine. And even though these are kind of really minor details, I do feel like it'll be nice to just have that little bit of contrast on this level because we do have a lot of normal colored prismarine, despite the raw prismarine changing color every now and then. I'm just adding these last few pieces of dark prismarine here, and then we can get to work on filling in these gaps. And by these gaps, I mean like this whole area right here. So I've marked out a few areas right here of prismarine, and now I just got to fill in all of these gaps just like this. And once I filled those in, I'm going to fill the leftover gaps in with sandstone. Now that we have a platform to work on, let's build up our second floor. So I've already marked out a few corners just to make sure I don't do this incorrectly, but now I just need to sort of join them all up. Actually, I think I'll just work on this entrance sort of area first and then do the rest of the walls because it's pretty much just going to be repeating the same pattern all the way along the sides. So we'll go up 2 with this kind of block, then we'll go up 2 with the smooth sandstone. Then we'll just do 1 row of the normal sandstone, and then we'll build up both of these sides with this kind of sandstone, which is from the chipped mod. Then we're just going to join up these 2 sides with some sandstone, some smooth sandstone, and some smooth sandstone stairs. There we go. Then on the inside, we're just going to use our normal sandstone again, and also add in some sandstone underneath that sandstone. Oh, not that one. This one, and a slab. Then we can just join these walls up with these pieces, and that's our entrance pretty much done. Oh wait, I forgot I also need to fill in this part right here so that the walls actually connect up to something. So let's do, not that block, let's do a couple of these blocks and then this one on the corner. All right, there we go. Now the back side of our little entrance is finished and we're looking a lot better from this side too. So now I just need to run all the way along these sides just like this and pretty much just repeat the pattern that we did on the front, but of course not adding the entrances or anything. Literally just double this and then double that, a single of the normal one, and then top it all off with this kind of block. Now that those walls are all done, I'm just going to create a little platform in the middle here before we do the other side. So I'm just going to finish off this prismarine outline like this, and then we're going to fill in the entire thing with normal sandstone. And honestly, whilst we're here, let's just do the walls anyways. And with both sides of the walls and the middle completed, here's how we're looking so far. So I'm just working on the roof part now, and I've made some holes so that we can put in some pillars later. But for now, as I said, let's build up this roof. So I'm just going to do a little bit of detailing with this dark prismarine here because we haven't really used much of it other than on these little corner bits, and I feel like it needs to be used a little bit more because it is a really nice tone of green. Then to detail this middle bit, I'm going to add in another row of stairs here and some more of these etched prismarine bricks. And with that done, we just need to build out another platform coming out this way. And just like we did with these bits, I'm going to fill it in completely and then punch out some holes for some pillars. But I'm going to make sure to pick up the blocks as usual because we do need all of them. All right, with that all done, I guess you could say the frame / foundation and walls are done. What is that? Oh, okay. Well, there's definitely been an Enderman here because I didn't put that there. Anyways, all that's left to do here, well, not all that's left to do, but all that's left to do here for the base is finish the roof. So let's get that done. Once I started the roof, I quickly realized that I still had quite the task ahead of me just to get the base structure finished. So I spent what felt like forever placing roof blocks just to get them out the way before I tackled anything else. Not entirely sure how I missed the giant gap right in the middle when I was assessing what we had left to do, but I did. So once the roof was finally done, I got to work on building a huge staircase from the ground all the way up to the top floor of our monument. Then with the stairs in place, I filled in all the surrounding gaps using, shockingly, a mix of prismarine and sandstone blocks. I know, who could have possibly seen that coming? Next up, the pillars, which yes, I also completely forgot existed when I assessed the situation. Luckily, they were pretty straightforward to do, but I just feel like the sheer scale of this build had my brain a little scrambled. Earlier I mentioned how I love a good repeating pattern, but there's definitely a fine line between a fun routine and just full-on mind-numbing monotony. Okay, so that is the base structure finally actually complete, but we are not done yet because we still have to add in some details. And I'm going to start by adding some more depth using these prismarine blocks and prismarine walls. And I'm also going to add some depth to these pillars by adding in some prismarine walls down the sides of them. And now since we've added depth, but kind of taken away some of the contrast, I'm going to build my way up here and just add in some of these prismarine brick stairs. So we're going to do just upside down like this, I think. Actually, let's do those the other way around. And on each of the corners here, I'm going to add in some of these pillar details and a sea lantern. Oh, hang on, I've put those in the wrong place, which means I'm gonna have to craft this sea lantern again. All right, let's try that design again. So we're doing these on each of the sides, sea lantern on the top, and then one of these walls and one of these walls. And those should make some pretty cute lighting details on each of the corners. Just wasted another one. Well, maybe not wasted them, but they are kind of a pain to have to craft. And for the lighting on these corners, I'm just gonna do one block and then our sea lantern and then just prismarine walls and the other kind of walls on the top. Now, we've added a lot of prismarine details, but I definitely feel like we need a bit more contrast. So I'm just gonna build up to the top here and add some of these sandstone pillar trims in. How am I going to be able to place this that way? Oh, I can. Okay, perfect. In between the gaps in the roof here, we're just going to add some really simple, easy details, just like this. With that all done, we're going to add some contrast to the roof by adding in some sandstone stairs and some of the sandstone pillar trims, sorry. And yes, I do hear all of those mobs, and yes, I am slightly regretting not putting torches inside earlier, but I don't have to deal with that just yet, so I'm gonna keep ignoring the monster sounds. And now on each of these posts here, I'm just gonna add in a little bit of lighting with our prismarine, what are they called? Sea lanterns. I will say, despite this being a humongous build, it's actually been pretty easy. Okay, maybe not easy, but like, not much brain power required, and that's mostly because the nature of this build is that it's super symmetrical, so once I figure out how I want to do one detail, I can pretty much just repeat it a bunch of times and call it a day. So I'm just going to finish off this section here, then do the same thing over on the other side, and I'll pop a few similar lamps up on that top middle bit too. Just keep everything looking nice and balanced. And I think it's safe to say that this is already looking a lot better than what we started with. I decided to spend some time placing a healthy amount of azalea leaves around the build, or an unhealthy amount depending on how you feel about completely covering things in greenery. Personally, I just wanted to bring a bit of nature up into the monument itself and also help carry that mossy green color higher up so it didn't feel so random just covering the floor around the base. Then to make sure the whole thing didn't just look totally overrun and unkempt, I also added a few little custom tree builds along the upper platform just to make it feel a little bit more maintained, you know? Like, someone actually lives here, or at least visits every now and again. I just didn't want it to look completely abandoned. Once it was all done, I honestly couldn't believe how awesome the monument transformation was already looking. And the wildest and even more unbelievable part was that we weren't even close to being finished yet. I started off by locating a silk touch book, which I threw on an extra pickaxe. I spent some time hunting skeletons for bone meal, then I collected amethyst crystals, gravel, clay, azalea leaves, iron, and coal. Once that was sorted, I was above ground to pick up more oak, spruce, and leaves. I also snagged some grass blocks, wool, and flowers for dye. Alright, I'm back, and if you were even remotely worried that there wasn't enough greenery around here, don't worry, I've got you covered. So I'm gonna go ahead and soften up all the edges of the build by just adding in a couple custom trees around the base. Nothing too over the top, just something a little whimsical and fun to make all that gravel feel a little bit more welcoming. Now, custom trees are often my sworn enemy, but I'm keeping these ones nice and small and simple so that I don't lose my mind, especially after spending what felt like a lifetime building that gigantic monument. And I still have a fair few things to build after this point, so I don't want to go too crazy. And dare I say, these custom trees aren't the worst thing ever? Honestly, it's kind of a nice break from all of the prismarine. Don't get me wrong, the monument obviously looks insane right now in the best way, but it's been a lot of blue and green blocks in a very specific palette. Alright, I'm just building up another tree right here, and I know this is gonna sound a little bit crazy, but I honestly feel like getting the smaller trees right is sometimes more difficult. Or at least like getting the trunk slash branches part can be. Like, you just don't have as much room to work with when it comes to adding dimension and all the little details, so you've kind of got to be super intentional with where you do put the extra blocks to try and get the roots in the trunk and everything else to look natural without it all feeling completely random. It is, of course, technically less work than a huge custom tree, but there is less blocks to hide a mistake amongst, if that makes sense. Alright, all of the trees are in, and it's starting to look really good. Kind of like nature is just reclaiming the space a little bit. So this next part might sound a little bit weird, but hear me out. I'm gonna build a bunch of floating fish above the monument to give it this sort of magical aquarium in the sky type vibe. And I know we already went through all of the effort of draining the entire monument, but I thought it'd be super cute to still include some ocean-y elements as just a little nod to what used to be here. Like, yes, we cleared the water, but the spirit of the sea still lives on, just, you know, slightly airborne now. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not 100% sure how these fish are actually gonna look from a distance because up close it's kind of impossible to tell. Like, obviously I have a reference and I think they're gonna look fish-shaped, but for all I know they might just look like random floating blobs of wool that I forgot to break or something, so I guess we'll only know once we take a dramatic step back later, and for now we'll just hope for the best. So with that in mind, I spent a bit of time putting in a few different colors of these floating fish. And once I'd gotten the first one down, the rest were actually pretty easy since they were basically just the same exact design, just in different colors, obviously. I did catch a few glimpses of the first one while building the others, so I kind of knew that we were on the right track, but I also still had no idea if they were actually going to look good in the bigger picture. Like, I wasn't sure if they were going to fit the vibe at all or feel completely out of place, but once again it was very much a let's just power through and we'll see when we'll see kind of moment. You know, I was kind of worried that they wouldn't be detailed enough, but I feel like they actually work really, really well. So since the fish went really well, I'm gonna add in some jellyfish around the top of the build too. And I've just marked out a rough shape using some colorful concrete just to get the form right. And now I'm surrounding it with glass blocks to give it that translucent, slightly glowy jellyfish look. Oh, and I also have some sea lanterns and some amethyst clusters to really add that glow. Then hopefully once a few are floating up here, it will look like they're gently drifting through the sky above the monument. Totally whimsical, totally unnecessary, but totally worth it. Also, this is kind of random but not entirely off topic. Did anyone else have a huge fear of jellyfish as a kid? Like, okay, obviously there's some validity there because some of them can really do some damage, but I grew up on the coast and I used to see loads and loads of dead jellyfish just washed up on the shore, and despite knowing basically no one who'd ever actually been stung, I was still convinced at the moment that I stepped into the water that they were all gonna come for me, but that actually never happened, thankfully. Also, in a similar vein and maybe even more ridiculous, I used to be scared of the current, but I had confused it with clams, which, thanks to SpongeBob, I believed were massive, snapping sea creatures that would just chomp my legs off at any given moment. Which is obviously not how clams work at all, and I'm not even sure that's what happens in the SpongeBob episode, but it's just funny what your kid brain comes up with, isn't it? Okay, honestly, I was also a little bit worried about the jellyfish, but they've turned out really, really cool, and they're kind of giving the build like a really calm, enchanted vibe right now. With the jellyfish all floating and looking magical, I headed inside the monument to add even more greenery because apparently I am physically incapable of stopping myself. I also threw in some lanterns to cozy the space up a bit, even though I didn't go full interior design mode like I usually would. Mostly because I just didn't have the materials to do so. But honestly, leaving it a little open actually kind of works in our favor, especially if I end up giving you guys this world as a download, because it means you've got a blank canvas to decorate however you would like. And speaking of which, if you didn't already know, I have been working on channel memberships so that I can start giving you guys like fun perks and whatnot. I'm not sure if it's live yet by the time that this video will go out, but check the community tab and there might be some more info there if you're interested. The There does seem to be a little bit of a mob problem up here, probably because I've left the area pretty open, partly to save on blocks and also partly to save my hands, I guess. But let's just deal with this real quick and then get some lanterns placed all around to stop them from spawning again once we've cleared them out. I think I would truly go insane if a creeper dropped down on me and blew any part of this build up. So that is all of our greenery added inside. I obviously didn't go too crazy, but I feel like it just makes it look like there's been at least a little bit of effort in here. Ouch. Now let's go get ourselves some more materials. I topped off my iron, coal, and concrete ingredients. I then picked up some glowberries and azalea leaves. Lastly, I grabbed some more oak wood and dirt. So I've taken a little break from all the resource gathering to come back and add some more things that are a little bit magical. Some floating lanterns above the monument. And I'm hoping that they'll give a soft, peaceful glow and kind of look like little stars scattered across the sky. I also figured that this was the perfect way to fill in a little bit of the airspace between all of our floating fish and the jellyfish. Jellyfish, even. I feel like it just adds another layer of whimsy to this already pretty enchanting build, if I do say so myself. Plus, who doesn't love a good floating lantern? Alright, I'm just adding in our final few lanterns here, and then we're going to head out for some more materials again. But just before we head out, I am going to wait for the sun to completely go down because I kind of want to see this thing all glowing. Okay, that literally looks so adorable, but let's get ourselves to bed. Can I jump onto a bed from here? I feel like I can survive that, but I'm not going to even attempt it because I am pretty high up, and if I died at this point, I would be very upset with myself. I topped off my iron and coal for the last time and picked up some more moss and azalea leaves. I then topped off my oak and spruce before heading back. Alright, we are back from a little more resource gathering, and this time I'm gonna add a nice soft glow around the base of the area. Nothing too wild, just some of our chunky lanterns from our chipped mod, which I absolutely love, and I'm gonna surround them with these little spruce trapdoors. That way they'll feel a little bit more cozy and much more intentional. This is definitely a really simple detail, but it helps ground the space and make it feel a little bit more finished, plus it brings that warm light all the way down to the lower level, which ties everything together nicely. I already ran around and added in these stripped spruce logs first, just to make sure that they were all nicely spaced out before adding in these trapdoors and lanterns. I kind of figured if I had winged it, then there was a very real chance that I'd step back, realize I hadn't spread the light out properly, and then have to go back in and break everything and then replace it all, which honestly at this point of the build sounds like an absolute nightmare. But thankfully, I actually thought ahead for once and did the easy spacing part first. Look at me go, occasionally using logic. Also, at this point, I am just so excited to finally step back and see the completed build. Of course, we're not quite there yet, but we are so close now. And we finally made it to that satisfying part of the video where it's all about the final little details. Now, I've been noticing that everything feels a little bit too centered. Like, it's all kind of crammed right into the middle of our big glass circle, so I'm thinking that adding a bit of moss and some scattered leaves around the edge of the circle will help soften that look and make the whole space feel a little bit more organic and less like it's just been all shoved into the middle. Just a little overgrowth to blur those borders and add some texture. As you can see, I spent some time running around armed with leaves and moss carpets, just making sure it was nicely spread out without completely taking over the floor. And I apparently also missed one of the lanterns, so I fixed that right away. With that fixed, I returned to my leaf and moss placing, which was definitely a moment where I just turned my brain off and relaxed for a little bit. And the final thing on our to-do list here is getting a proper platform and entrance set up so that we can actually get in and out of our monument like normal people. I mean, the water column has been working, it's easy and all, but it's definitely not winning any aesthetic awards. So I'm thinking a nice solid oak platform with a little ladder set up should do the trick. Something simple, sturdy, and way more in keeping with the vibe of the build. So let's make it look like it was meant to be here all along. Alright, that's one side done. Let's do the other, then we can just fill it all in, add in some railings, add some leaves for details, and then we should be about done. And now it's time for our grand reveal. As the sun filtered through the shimmering water to illuminate our monument, I knew we had succeeded in our goal. My name is Em, this is Millie, and you have all been amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.